want to tell everyone, when I heard that Rabbi Glatstein was coming to town, I was so excited. I was so excited. We spoke the other week, girls, about what it means to be a hero. Chovos HaLevavos says, part of being a real hero in Yiddishkeit is that you show that I don't keep my Torah, my knowledge, my Musar, my Hadracha to myself, but I share that. And I'm eager to share that with every Jew that I meet. Some of you may know, Rabbi Glatstein, when I used to teach, in my classroom, I'd have 20 students, 25 students maybe. But Rabbi Glatstein has a platform that I'm sure he can understand and explain better than I can, which I believe literally has thousands and thousands, am I right about that? Literally thousands and thousands of people, of followers, of adherents who listen to his shiurim, to listen to his hashkafa, to listen to his musar, to listen to the halach. It's amazing the amount of yidden that Rabbi Glatstein touches in the course of a day, in the course of a week. It is epic, it is legendary, it is something that probably Rishonim, Achronim, Tanoim, and Amoroyim, if they would realize that there's going to be a day in Klal Yisrael with the right technology, you could reach thousands, if not tens of thousands of people with every word of Das Torah that you say, I think they would almost be jealous of Rabbi Glatstein's ability to touch the hearts of Klal Yisrael. And if I could just share something personal, I hope it's okay. I hope I'm not going to make Rabbi Glatstein blush. But aside from the fact that Rabbi Glatstein is an epic, world-class Talmid Chacham, Maggid Shir, Rav, he's also a very, very, very special and very dear family friend. Rabbi Glatstein's grandparents lived in Pittsburgh for many decades. I grew up in Pittsburgh. My mother and Rabbi Glatstein were like this. I want to tell you a story. I don't know if you know this story, but it's a great story. Maybe make one of your, your speeches one day. But when my brother Chaim was engaged to my sister-in-law, my mother asked Rabbi Glatstein, "Oh, you're going to Eretz Israel? Could you please pick up a set of leichter? It's a custom to give your daughter-in-law silver candlesticks. Could you pick up a pair of silver candlesticks in Eretz Israel?" So Rabbi Glatstein said, "Sure, no problem. For you, Gloria, anything." So she comes back from Eretz Israel. I was in the room when this happened. I'm not making this up. I was in the room when this happened. She hands my mother the box. It says, "Here, I bought the leichter." My mother opens the box. It was a beautiful, stunning, pure silver candlesticks. It was gorgeous. So my mother takes out her checkbook and says, "Okay, Rabbi Glatstein, how much do I owe you?" So I think she blurted out some number. So my mother makes out a check and says, "Here, thank you so much. You went to Eretz Israel, you picked this up." Rabbi Glatstein took the check. I saw this with my eyes. She tore it up and gave my mother a hug and said, "For you, Gloria, we're like sisters. It's my gift. It's my gift for your daughter." Unbelievable. Wow. I'm thinking so. When Rabbi Glatstein's son, Rabbi Yossi Glatstein, your dad, got married in New York a few years ago, so they needed a flower girl at the wedding. Is that still a thing? I don't know. Okay. So my sister, Tova, was the flower girl at your parents' wedding.
Wow.
My family go from Pittsburgh to New York to be at your parents' wedding. And Rabbi Glatstein...
I wasn't at that wedding.
I'm very glad to hear that. So Rabbi Glatstein has himself and his two brothers went to Yeshiva Torah Israel in Brooklyn. I'm very proud to say that all the Glatstein boys were Talmidim in our yeshiva. Rabbi Glatstein was too smart to be in my shiur. I taught the other 12th grade, I believe, when you were in 12th grade. By the way, I should tell you this. I have a picture of you in 12th grade. I can show you that. Yeah, I can show you that. But so he wasn't in my shiur, but his other two brothers were in my shiur. What does that mean? Because they were dumb enough? No, because they were smart enough, but then I started teaching the other shiur. So that's why Ellie and Ari were also in my shiur. So we have a very deep and very rich family connection going back literally generations and literally decades. Without further ado, girls, it's a big schus, a big pleasure, a tremendous cover to have a person of the caliber, of the stature, of the chashivas, Rabbi Yehuda Glatstein, addressing us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, what an honor to be here. It's worth it to come to Florida just to see Rabbi Muscat. Actually, the reason I wasn't in Rabbi Muscat's chair is I was before his time.
That's big.
But I would have been. Actually, it's true. You know, my grandmother, if you would say to her, my grandmother is a Holocaust survivor. My grandmother was the daughter of the last Rav of the city of Sakhachav. Actually, she had a midah that if you would compliment her on her dress, let's say, Rabbi Glatstein, you know, I really like your dress. The next day, that dress would arrive at your house. She would no longer own it. She would give it to you. You liked her shoes, she would remove them and put them on your feet. Actually, I'm happy that my father adopted that practice, because anytime I compliment my father on his tie, I'm wearing it the next minute. Okay? It's really an honor to be here. As Rabbi Muscat mentioned, you know, we come from the city of champions, and you know, we have 6 Super Bowls. And one day you'll reach that madriga where you have as many championships as from the city of Pittsburgh. And I want to take this opportunity to share with you a perspective, an amazing perspective, on a mitzvah which is not given enough attention and not given the reverence and the appreciation that it so richly deserves. It's a very unusual observation. Usually you wouldn't expect a Gadol B'Yisrael to make an observation like this, but it's certainly worthy of our attention. When I was learning in Eretz Yisrael, say, I don't know, something like 25 years ago, I had the zechus to meet, to see, I don't think I had an opportunity to speak with him, one of the great Gedolei Yisrael, one of the Gedolei Hadar of our time. He was a Jew who lived to, I think, nearly 100 years old. He had barely any material possessions. He lived in a small apartment in Bnei Brak with a table and chairs, and I don't even know if you would call it a mattress, with a board underneath. Rav Aaron Leib Steinman. And he has an observation, a very stirring observation, that there's a phenomenon that we have encountered in our times. Sometimes you see it, not always. Some have the privilege to have it. Not everybody has this privilege. That for the first time in history, people have not only grandparents, sometimes even great-grandparents. Sometimes you have grandparents themselves caring for elderly parents. My father, growing up in Pittsburgh, he didn't know his grandparents. I don't know if anyone in his class even had grandparents. Many of them came from families of Holocaust survivors. They had parents. Almost nobody had grandparents. It was a very rare phenomenon. And I grew up, I knew, Baruch Hashem, I knew my great-grandparents. My children knew their great-grandparents. And I'm going to speak about both types of situations. And Rabbi Aaron Leib Steinman said it is certainly worthy of our attention. Why is it that for the very first time in history, there's this phenomenon that you have grandparents themselves and they're taking care of their elderly parents? And Rabbi Aaron Leib Steinman said, here we are. We're in the year 2000. We're in the year 2025. And we're literally almost at the finish line. And it's us against the nations of the world. It's us against Asov. And you see, Asov, he was a wicked guy. He doesn't have too much to his name. But there was one merit that Asov has that was so powerful and eternal that we're still dealing with until this very day. And that is the mitzvah that Asov specialized in. The mitzvah that Reb Shimon ben Gamliel said, that I don't stack up to Asov in this mitzvah, because Asov, when he would honor his father, he would put on special garments, special begadim, and I'm not on that level to do that. That is the mitzvah of kibbud av va'em. Do you remember when Yaakov Avinu was coming back from Eretz Yisrael to encounter Asov, and the pasuk says, Vayira Yaakov ma'od. Yaakov was very frightened. And the Rishonim say, what was he frightened of? He was frightened that Asov had the powerful merit of honoring his father, that with all the Torah learning of Yaakov and all the good deeds of Yaakov, he felt he could not match up to Asov and kibbud av va'em. That merit stands up for the nations of the world until the end of time. So Rabbi Aaron Leib Steinman said that in the last generation, Hashem has given the Jewish people opportunity that has never existed in the history of the world, that sometimes people have opportunities to honor parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. Sometimes grandparents themselves are taking care of elderly parents. It's in order to deliver that final knockout punch to Asov. Now, there's another way to look at it, because it's very interesting. Do you remember the story of the Megillah, where the Redeemer of the Jewish people, Esther Hamalka, do you remember her profile? What does the Megillah say? Ki ein la avaim. She has no father and she has no mother. And the Medrash adds, this wasn't by chance that Esther had no father and mother. The Medrash says, Hashem says, the Redeemer that I'm going to designate for you will be only someone who has no father and no mother. Now Esther was such an orphan girl. Not only did she have no father and no mother, the Gemara says she never even saw her father, she never even saw her mother. And there's an amazing presentation of Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz. You ever hear the name Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz? One of the great Achronim, one of the greatest Rosh Yeshivas in the last 400 years. Secular historians write that Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz had more than 20,000 Talmidim throughout his career as a Rosh Yeshiva. He wrote a sefer, a classic sefer of Drush called Yaros Tavash. And in the Yaros Tavash, Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz says that Esther Hamalka also had to confront the Asov of her time. Who is the Asov of her time? Haman. And Haman, he's still bolstered by the mitzvah of Kibbut Av of Asov. And there's nobody who could stand up to him. Not Mordechai HaTzadik, not Ezra, not Nehemiah, not Chagai, not Zechariah, not Malachi. Yeah, they tried to honor their father and mother, but it didn't match up to the merit of Asov. So Hashem designated and created a very remarkable situation. Here's this young girl. She has no father, she has no mother, but she wished she did. And she wished she had opportunities to be Mekayim, the mitzvah of Kibbut Avayim. And she longed for it, and she yearned for it, and therefore she activated the following principle. You ready for this? The Gemara teaches, Chishev lasois mitzvah. If somebody thinks to do a mitzvah, Venenas, and they're limited by extenuating circumstances, Mala olav ki'ilu asa, Hashem considers it as if the person did the mitzvah. However, let's think about that for a moment. Because in this situation, the person is not actually doing the mitzvah, they're being gifted a mitzvah. Now, when the Almighty gifts you a mitzvah, He doesn't gift a human mitzvah. You see, when a human being does a mitzvah, even the greatest tzaddik, the greatest tzaddikas, and does a mitzvah on the highest possible level, it will always be limited by human shortcoming. Even when we do a mitzvah in the best possible way, was it with full avas Hashem? Was it with full yiras Hashem? Are we fulfilling all the details, all the minutiae? As great as any mitzvah may be, even the Gadol Hadar who does a mitzvah, it will always be limited by human shortcoming. But imagine someone who wishes they could do a mitzvah, and Hashem says, oh, you wish you could do a mitzvah? Here, let me give you a gift. When God gives gifts, He doesn't give small gifts. He gives divine gifts. And the gift that Hashem gives us of doing a mitzvah, when we wish we could, is actually the highest form of a mitzvah. So you know who actually was able to overcome Haman in Haman's merit of honoring his father because he came from Asov? A girl who had no father and no mother. You know, come to think of it, sometimes in life we wish, if only I could do this. I wish Hashem would have put me in a circumstance where I would have the opportunity to do a mitzvah. Sometimes in life, the greatest things we do are not what we actually do, but what we wish we could have done if we had the opportunity. Actually, I'll tell you a little story. One thing, even though I wasn't a Rabbi Muscat chair, I remember one time we had a Shabbaton, and Rabbi Muscat gave a shir on the Ktsois HaChoshen, on the sugya of Oines, is Oines command avad? Yeah? I believe so. You know, one of the svarim which are most beloved in the Olam HaYeshivas is the Ktsois HaChoshen. The author of Ktsois HaChoshen, Rabbi Leib HaKohen, he wrote 3 classic svarim of Lamdus. Lamdus is like the deep Talmudic analysis. You have Sefer Ktsois HaChoshen, Sefer Shev Shmaitza. You ever hear these names? It's good to know the names, you know, it's good. If you come home and say, what did the rabbi speak about? I said, we said the Shev Shmaitza, the Ktsois HaChoshen, and the Avnei Miluim. These are 3 of the classic Svarim in the Olam HaYeshivas, in the Yeshiva world. He was once asked why he was Zoiche to write these 3 Svarim that have been accepted and revered in the Yeshiva world. Listen to this. He said, because 3 times he had to eat on Yom Kippur. He was so weak and ill, he had to eat on Yom Kippur. So, am I missing something? What was the merit of eating on Yom Kippur? Because he wanted to fast. So when he actually fasted, we all fast, but do we do it with all the right kavanos? Do we do it with all the right preparations? Sometimes maybe we're looking at the clock. But when he wanted to fast, and he wished he could have fasted, he wished he could have fasted in the best possible way. In the merit of the 3 times he wasn't able to, he was zoichet to write these 3 svarim. This is printed in the intro of many editions of Ktsois HaChoshen. In any event, so here we are. We're in the end of days, so to speak. We're almost there. We're almost on the finish line. And what Rabbi Glatstein is revealing is that there's a particular area of Avodas Hashem that is the battleground between Klal Yisrael and the nations of the world. And that is in the realm of Kibbud Av V'Em. But I want to share with you one interesting thought that I'm going to leave you with. And let's see if anybody could start us off on this journey. We're talking about Asov. Asov was the paragon. Asov excelled in Kibbud Av. Could anybody think of a deficiency in Asov's Kibbud Av V'Em? Can you think of anything? I mean, yes, he served his father wholeheartedly. In fact, some Rishonim say, do you remember when Yaakov Avinu was cooking that stew and Asov came back? Asov was famished, he was hungry, and he said, give me some of that food. Haliteni nam min ha'adam hazeh, ki oyef anoichi. So Yaakov says, no problem, give me the birthright. Do you remember Asov said the words, Hine anoichi hoylech lamos, I'm going to die anyway. So what's this worth to me? What did Asov mean, I'm going to die anyway? You ready for this? It's brought in one of the Rishonim in the Sefer Chasidim that Asov would risk his life daily to go hunting to honor his father. Asov would laugh at the Akedah. He said, the Akedah? Big deal. One time Yitzchak was willing to give up his life for Hashem. Every single day I am literally risking my life for my father. That's how Asov looked at it. He laughed at the Akedah. One time, I do this daily. He said, deal. Hine anoichi hoylech lamos. So, wow, unbelievable. Could you think of a deficiency in Asav's Kibbud Av V'Em? I'll let you think about that for a moment. But now let's speak about a different angle of this. Does anybody know who the real adversary of Asov is? You know who's able to destroy Asov? The antidote, the kryptonite of Asov? Who is it? We know Asov is compared to the flax. And Yaakov is the candle. But who's the flame who consumes Asov? Remember this? Yosef. Yosef is called the Lehava. Yosef is the flame. So I'm thinking to myself, if you have these 2 adversaries and they get into the ring together, and Asav's kayach is the kayach of Kibbud Av, then Yosef must have something to say to that. Yosef must have some kind of counterattack in the realm of Kibbud Av V'Em. But, I'm thinking, did Yosef even ever meet Asav? What does it mean Yosef's the antidote to Asov? How is Yosef the antidote? Did they ever even meet each other? Could you think of an instance where Yosef met Asov? You know, it's interesting, I found that Yosef, his whole life, also was focused on the mitzvah of kibbud av in order to counteract Asov. So you know what Yosef did? Even though the simple reading of the pasuk is va'asa loy kesainas pasim, that Yaakov made made Yosef a special garment, many achronim read the pasuk va'asa loy kesainas pasim, that Yosef made himself special garments to serve his father so that he could counteract and try to overcome the merit of Asov, who would serve his father with special begadim. And until there was a great day where Yaakov says to Yosef, go check on your brothers, see what they're up to. Does anybody remember what word Yosef used? He tells his father, Hineni. I've been waiting for a day like this. Because Yosef knew he was endangering his life. Yosef knew this was a very precarious situation. But he was just waiting and waiting for the opportunity to listen to his father when it wasn't so safe and secure to be able to counteract Asov. There is a very big deficiency in Yosef's kibbud av, in Asav's kibbud av. And that is, Asov was very concerned for the honor of his father. How about his mother? Asov wasn't really that special in the honor for his mother. Actually, he didn't honor his mother at all. We know that his wives were a source of great aggravation and stress for his mother. The Ramban even says that when Rivka passed away, you know who was a no-show? You know who didn't even show up? Asov didn't even show up. That's why the Torah for Rivka's honor doesn't even say Rivka passed away, because it would be embarrassing that Asov wasn't there. So Asov, while he specialized in kibbud av, he wasn't really that proficient in kibbud em. But it's very interesting. There is one time that Asov and Yosef confront each other. And that is when Yaakov Avinu is coming back after 22 years. He's coming back from Lavan's house. And Asov is coming with 400 men. And the psukim describe the procession of who appeared before Asov. So first you had Bilhah and her children. And then you had Zilpah and her children. And then you have Leah and her children. V'achar kein nigash. Do you remember this? Yosef, Rachel. First Yosef, and then Rachel. And Rashi's bothered. It's out of order. It should say Bilhah, children. Zilpah, children. Leah, children. Rachel, and then Yosef. No, that's not what it says. V'achar kein nigash. Yosef, and then Asov. Yosef, and then Rachel. What does Rashi say? Rashi says Yosef was telling Asov, I don't want you even laying your eyes on my mother. So Yosef stood up tall, and he raised his height, and he protected the honor of his mother. I would say, herein lies the epic battle between Yosef and Asov. And Yosef is telling Asov, you may honor your father greatly, but there's one area that you're severely deficient. How about the honor for your mother? And in this small encounter, I would say, Yosef delivers a real knockout punch to Asov. Because while the nations of the world have the merit of Asov, of kibbud av, you know what it means to be a Jew? Kibbud av va'em. And I want to bring to your attention the comments of Tosfos on the birth of Yaakov Avinu. You ready for this? Think about it. You know, a name is very important. A name usually captures the essence of something. A name is not just an arbitrary term that we use conveniently to refer to something. A name captures the essence. Yaakov Avinu is called Yaakov. Why? Because he's holding the heel of Asov. Was that such an important moment in his life that Yaakov Avinu held the heel of Asov? So we call him the heel. And now what? If he was holding Asav's ear, he would be called ear. If he was called... Why did he even do that? You know what the Bali Tosfos say? That Rivka was having twins. And it's painful. So Yaakov Avinu says, you know what? when mom is having my brother, I want to save her some pain. So I'll hold on to my brother's heel so that mommy shouldn't have to suffer a second birth. And therefore he's called Yaakov Avinu. You know what the essence of a Jew is? You know what it means to be Bnei Yaakov? To be concerned for the welfare and the dignity and the honor of your father and your mother. This is not a small mitzvah. This is the battleground between the nations of the world and the Jewish people. And this is a mitzvah, Be'ezus Hashem, that we hope will take us and bring us to the great day. I thank you very much for your kind attention. Agun Shabbos.